25 cents. You can't get much for 25 cents these days. A gumball's like $1 these days, so yeah. But for 25 cents, basically a quarter, we have managed to build ourselves a PC. Alright, so what did I get and how did I do this? Well, let's go and start with the how did I do this part. So basically, I found the CPU, motherboard, RAM, and cooler all bundled together, still, like attached and stuff, in a dumpster. So, yeah. And also, in terms of the power supply, I also found it in a dumpster. So, yeah, it was getting thrown out and that was free. In terms of the 25-cent part, well, basically, here's what happened, alright? I found a quarter on the ground, alright? And I was walking around my neighborhood, and I saw that, there was like some dude selling old stuff. And so basically, he was selling old stuff. And so the hard drive was the only interesting thing that I saw, as everything else was like random stuff. And so I asked him how much you want for it. He said whatever I had. I gave him 25 cents, and he said deal. Kind of hilariously, because, it was 25 cents. It was junk. And so basically, what did we get? Well, in terms of the CPU, we have the Core 2 Quad Q9400 at 2.66 GHz, which is 4 cores and no hyperthreading. Pretty decent. And since it's a quad core, it means it's still somewhat relevant today. And in terms of the motherboard, well, in terms of the RAM, we actually got lucky this time, okay? You see here, this came with 4 sticks, 2 gigs each, of 8 gigs of DDR2 quad channel memory, which for 25 cents isn't that bad, alright? And what about the storage? Well, we got an 80 gigabyte SATA 1 HDD, which I nicknamed the Slow and Painful Edition, so yeah, not great. In terms of GPU, well, you see here, this iGPU isn't actually as bad as most people think it is, okay? It's not like the GMA 950 where it supports only DirectX 9 and is kind of crap. This supports OpenGL 2.1 and DirectX 10. So this could be potentially alright. In other notes, the PC needs to be jumped because there's no power button, so I need to just jump the PC every time I want to use it. And the CPU overheats because of that weird cool arrangement, which I will explain later, and it may explode. So yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and get on with the PC itself. Alright, so, with the PC booted now, what OS did we go with? Well, we went with the legendary Windows 7. As, well, you see here, it runs really well on slow old hard drives. And, yeah, we definitely have one of those. You see here, this hard drive is an 80 gigabyte, 2400, no, actually it's 4200 RPM Western Digital hard drive from 2005. And, yeah, it is really, really not great. Considering this hard drive is just from 2005, I mean, it's SATA 1. That should tell you the speed of the hard drive. So, yeah, we're lucky it even works, alright? But look here, it works, alright? And Windows 7, while it might not be the most up-to-date OS, we are able to run GOG games on it, and we are able to get a somewhat modern version of Firefox on it, meaning that it can be used for general usage tasks. Even though Steam doesn't work anymore, we can use other ways of getting it to work, alright? So, yeah, let's go ahead and let it install. Alright, so in terms of general usage benchmarks, I couldn't record it live because, well, I'm very smart at, messing with audio stuff. But anyways, so, this 25-cent box PC, dumpster PC, whatever you call it, it can run YouTube pretty well, right? And it can also run the modern web pretty well. It's thanks to that modern-ish Core 2 quad, alright? Now, the Core 2 quad is a CPU from 2008, but it was a high-end one, like I said, okay? And that's still, those 4-core, 4 threads, it can handle the modern day pretty decently, alright? In terms of YouTube, it's able to play 1080p 60 FPS perfectly fine. 1440p 60 will drop a little bit, and 4K is just way too much. In terms of web browsing, it was quick enough. It could load in several YouTube sites at once, and in terms of, and because of our 8 gigabytes of RAM being an actually decent amount, it was able to do something, alright? It was able to do something on the web, alright? That's more than what we can say for something like the ePC or the DV8000 or the the Dell Inspiron 1100, which, yeah, those PCs are really, really slow Windows XP based machines, so yeah, it's nice to see something that actually works, okay? And in terms of those, that iGPU, Windows 7 actually came with default drivers for the iGPU that were actually pretty decent. Now, obviously, I did update it, because, I mean, it was 1 year out of date, but look here, they were actually pretty decent. It tells you something about your iGPU when it's old enough that Windows 7 has just default drivers for it, which is kind of funny to me, but, yeah. Anyways, let's go ahead and, get on with the gaming benchmarks, which I know that's why you guys are here for, alright? So, yeah, without a doubt, let's get on with the benchmarks, shall we? Okay, so before we begin the gaming benchmarks, I just wanted to point you out to a few things about the PC. So you see that weird purple yellow thing on top of the cooler? Well, you see here, the cooler isn't actually mounted. In reality, it's mounted by something we like to call gravity. Now you see here, what I did was I just took one of those weird weight things I wear around your arms and I just put it on top of the cooler and prayed, alright? And also, in terms of the cooler, let's go and talk about this. So basically, the PC that I was in is like some sort of HP, but basically you see here, these Core 2 quads were known to overheat in these HP PCs as well. Their coolers were really small, so their fans had to rev to really high RPMs, and their cases overall just didn't have much airflow. Now, we do solve the case airflow problem, because we have a box for a case, literally, and, but in terms of the fan, we have the white fan thing that I've hooked up to it, it's not nearly as powerful as the case fan, so yeah, let's go and hope that the Core 2 quad doesn't explode while we benchmark this, alright? So, yeah. Anyways, let's get on with the gaming benchmarks. Starting off right in the deep end here, we have BeamNG Drive, which I am genuinely surprised even launched on this PC. MSI Afterburner doesn't work with Windows 7, unfortunately, so Fraps it is, which is very informative, as it tells only our frame rate. BeamNG took 30 minutes to load, as the slow hard drive couldn't fit it. So I had to use one of the very slow USB ports on this motherboard. Pretty sure it's either USB 1.1 or 2. And run the game directly off of that. The game warned me that the GPU I was using was bad and that there wasn't a good amount of storage on any of the devices, including the USB drive, because it was almost full. So I decided to do the wise decision and ignore these warnings and run it anyways. The game ran with the lowest possible settings on an old version of the game, as our iGPU didn't support DirectX 11, which, yeesh, that came out in 2009. Yeah, it tells you a lot about this iGPU. And it ran with a modified render distance, so the game basically looked like a PS2 game, probably even a PS1 game. And the game ran with horrible averages of 12 FPS, 1% was down to 8 when smoke was generated, even at these horribly low settings. Just look at the footage. The game looks old. It doesn't even look like BeamNG anymore. Overall, BeamNG is a solid fail, but it still amazes me that BeamNG will now launch, even on a 25-cent PC. So, yeah, if that's not an amazing feat on its own, I'm not sure what you think an amazing feat is. Next up, we have the most popular PC game ever made, Minecraft Java Edition. The game was running at 1080p with the window mode, as full screen would blue screen the system. Believe me, I tried twice, and it did not run well. The game was running with the lowest possible settings with Sodium in the 5-year-old version of the game, 1.16.5. Damn, that was 5 years ago, man, I'm getting old. The game was surprisingly smooth as that Core 2 quad, while nearly 20 years old, it has 4 cores, and thanks to Sodium, we saw playable averages of 25 FPS and 1% lows down to 7. And this was during TNT explosions. Minecraft was barely a pass, but shockingly it runs, even launches on a 25-cent PC. So yeah, that is pretty awesome. But damn, Minecraft is definitely getting old. Next up, with the game from this CPU's era, we have Crysis here running at 800 by 600 with the lowest possible settings. The CPU was running so hot to the point where the cooler gave me a small blister. Even though Crysis is from this PC's era, it still ran like crap. Averages of 8 FPS and 1% lows down to 2 due to the old, painful hard drive is not playable at all. That hard drive took minutes to load in areas of the game. And especially for FPSs like Crysis, 8 FPS is not even close to playable. I know that the game notoriously runs like crap even on decent PCs from this era, but Crysis is a no-go for 25 cents. Next up, we have the Elder Scrolls Oblivion here running at 720p with the low option selected. And we are seeing averages of 28 and 1% of lows down to 19, which is almost playable. Do keep in mind, however, that we aren't running at the lowest settings, although this game is much older than this PC, which is hilarious. More open areas and busy towns and cities would tank the FPS down to single digits using the low settings at 720p, but overall, Oblivion was nearly playable on a 25-cent PC, which is something I thought I would never say. On to the next benchmark. Next up in the timeline of the Elder Scrolls, we have the original non-remastered 2011 release of Skyrim running at 720p, which was oddly the lowest resolution it would let me go down to, at the lowest possible settings. The game achieved an abysmal result of 7 FPS on average with 1% lows down to 6. That iGPU is really holding us back here, even though the CPU is about to explode. This game is shockingly intensive and ran expectedly horribly. But the game launched, which is crazy for a PC that cost a literal quarter. So what are you waiting for? If you want to play some classics like Skyrim at 6 FPS, go out with a quarter and build yourself a PC. Even though it's more of like a cardboard box with some plastic and PC components in it. Last up, we have Driver Parallel Lines, which is a game from the hip year of 2006. This PC only ran slightly better than the HP DV8000, as that is a laptop from 2005, and it ran the same FPS just at a low resolution. The 25-cent PC ran the game at 720p with the lowest possible settings, and we were seeing some nasty frame rates and frame times. The CPU was overheating like crazy, so the frame times were sporadic, like I said, and the iGPU didn't fare well either. Overall, averages of 21 FPS and 1% lows down to 12 were not playable in the slightest for a racing game like Driver. Overall, Driver is a fail. On to the conclusion. Alright, so overall, how do I feel about this 25-cent PC? Was it worth it? Well, yes, because I mean, literally, if we got like a Chromebook, I would be happy for 25 cents. Because I mean, like, look here, 25 cents, that's a quarter. Literally, this PC is worth the same as a literal gumball, actually less than the gumball. So, yeah, it's definitely worth it, alright? Go out and build yourself a PC. Core 2 quads aren't really that great for modern usage. Well, I mean, you know, for general usage, it's fine, but for actual gaming on a modern, you know, OS and modern games, it's not going to run well. So yeah, if you want to play some classic games, or maybe even, you know, like have a Windows XP or 7 machine or something like that, then this PC actually wouldn't do too bad. So yeah. Anyways, guys, see you next video. All right, this video was a bit of an odd one, but hey, it was pretty interesting. All right. Anyways, guys, see you next video. All right, and remember to juked you out there. Is about to yell subscribe.